Pat Quinn is running for re-election for governor, and one thing that he's emphasized, particularly to some of his estranged allies in organized labor and in teachers' unions, was, don't compare me to the almighty. Compare me to my opponent, to the Republican challenger, Bruce Rauner, who he'll be up against in the November general election. There may be big differences between Bruce Rauner and Pat Quinn, if not between Pat Quinn and God. But Quinn's running mate, Paul Vallas, really has a history in education that's very, very similar to what Bruce Rauner would like to see more of here in Illinois. Vallas once was the CPS CEO, but there was a long period since he left CPS more than a decade ago. During that period, he sort of moved around the country working as a school's boss in different cities. And when you look at the record that he has in some of those cities, such as Philadelphia, for instance, he ran one of the largest school privatization programs in the country. And it's exactly what Bruce Rauner, who's a champion of charter schools, which are publicly funded but privately run, that's exactly what Rauner wants, and it's exactly the opposite of what the teachers that Quinn is trying to woo would consider to be ideal. One of the largest chunks of time that Vallas spent during what I call his period in exile from Illinois was spent in New Orleans. And there's a school district there that he led called the Recovery School District, which in the year 2007 hired Paul Vallas to be its superintendent. You can really get a good idea of what Vallas did in New Orleans if you read this 2013 book by the award-winning journalist Sarah Carr. It's called Hope Against Hope. It details the struggles of the New Orleans public school system since Hurricane Katrina, and a lot of it is naturally dedicated to Paul Vallas's time there. If you look at Paul Vallas's time, a few things happened. They're very significant. Things that I think Bruce Rauner would consider to be great and the teachers union would consider to be very, very distasteful. One thing he did was brought in a lot of charter school operators. Much of the district went from traditional schools to charter schools. He also brought in a lot of teachers from a program called Teach for America, which is young college graduates that agree to teach for a couple of years. As a result of that, during that time, a lot of veteran educators had difficulty getting jobs back that they lost during the wake of Katrina. And a lot of the teachers there actually switched from predominantly black teachers to many more white teachers than they had before. And that caused, naturally, a lot of consternation in New Orleans. Now, there are no more traditional schools in New Orleans. The process that Vallas accelerated rapidly during his time there has been completed. Every school there has become a charter recently, and that's certainly a route that maybe Rauner might like, but unionized teachers in this state don't want to see it go in that direction any further. Vallas had a lot to say when he was the CPS CEO. He was frequently quoted in the media to the extent that some people thought Mayor Richard M. Daley, who was his boss, began to resent the fact that a lot of the spotlight was on Vallas instead of Daley. True or not, Vallas now, in his return to Illinois politics as a lieutenant governor candidate, has been, from the perspective of a lot of us in the media, very subdued, almost shackled by the campaign. We don't see a lot of him. He's even taken another job in the private sector, as we've reported. And on this issue, I called the press secretary for Quinn's campaign, and she said that they wouldn't want Vallas talking about charter schools or really giving any interview on that topic.